Good night, everyone. Ready to rumble? Yes, I know. Okay. Honorable Kerrine James, Member of Parliament for St. John, for Climate Resilience, the Environment, and Renewable Energy. Ms. Simone Lewis, Regional Coordinator for GWPC. Mr. Gregory Del Sol, National of the Jeff Small Grants Program. Community leaders, members, and all distinguished guests, welcome. Let us begin this evening by saying a word of prayer, and I now invite community member Mr. Crispin Hostin to say, the prayer.
I would like if you can stand with me, please, if you're not. And let us pray. Almighty and our everlasting God, we are indeed very much thankful to you, O God, for this moment. We are thankful for you allowing us this privilege to be here this evening as a community, most of all to discuss our plans and a program for the development of this community. We thank you for everyone who are here. We pray, O God, that everything that we will be doing here will be done in decency, will be done in order. We ask your blessing upon the proceeding. We pray, O God, that you continue to bless us and guide us as we make this prayer in Christ's name. Amen.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hostin. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm your moderator for tonight, Mr. Karen Martinez, Program Assistant for the Global Water Partnership Caribbean. So, next on the agenda, I would like to welcome Ms. Stephanie Bascom to give some welcome remarks on behalf of the community.
I am not as tall as. Thank you, sir. Special good night to everyone. Protocol already established. We would like to welcome everybody here tonight at our closing ceremony. It's been a hard fight for the past couple months, but we are now here to celebrate. So I trust that this session will be one that we will enjoy being here. And if we behave, I'm looking for a nice word. If we behave wonderfully well, there is something in the back for you. So we want to welcome everyone, and we trust that our session will be blessed. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Stephanie. Moving along, I would like to it's now my privilege to invite Mr. Gregory Del Sol, member of the National Steering Committee for the Jeff Small Grants Program, to share some remarks.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would stand on the protocol already established, but I must recognize the Honorable Minister and Member for Parliament for St. John's, the Honorable Kerrine James, and my friend Simone Lewis of the Global Water Partnership. I am here tonight representing the Jeff Small Grants Steering Committee. We are the national committee that review all of the different proposals that come to the Jeff Small Grants Project program. And your project was one that came to us, and we saw the need for it, and it was approved. So I can't remember quite where I heard the saying that thousands of people every day live without love, but none live without water. So the launch of this program, of this project here tonight, is one that is critical for the entire community of Mount Granby, Mount Nesbitt, and the Jeff Small Grants Project is indeed happy to be here with you, that we could collaborate together with organizations like the Global Water Partnership Caribbean to bring relief, because what I really believe that the Jeff Small Grants Funds should do and ought to do is improve the lives of local people, people on the ground, communities across the countries where we do our work. So we are extremely grateful, we are extremely happy to have partnered with the GWPC and other stakeholders, including you, the community members, who would have worked hard to see this project be completed, implemented. So just to say a few things about the Jeff Small Grants Project, what we do, we offer direct funding support, grant funding support to NGOs, CBOs, and other civil society organizations to improve the lives of the members of those organizations and of the communities, where these organizations function. So we give grants up to $50,000 for environmentally based projects to do special community projects that impact the lives of ordinary people across the country. So we are grateful. We continue to be here. There will be further call for proposals in the coming months, in the year ahead, and we would want to implore community organizations, community groups, civil society organizations to approach the Jeff Small Grants Project with your proposals that have an environmental slant or cause to it, and we'll be willing to look at it and support. So I want to thank you for your kind attention, and I look forward, and the Jeff Small Grants program on a whole, we look forward to supporting for other communities across St. John's, across Grenada. So I thank you for your attention, and good night.
Thank you, Mr. Del Sol, for sharing valuable information on the Jeff Small Grants, how they operate, and the opportunities available to access grant funding to further develop communities. So if there's any additional phases to this project that the community wants to undertake, you know where to go to, right? Next on the agenda is me. It is my pleasure to share some remarks on behalf of GWPC. So here I go. I'd like to share this in the form of a sort of a narrative. So, sort of like a story about this project. So everyone could, get an understanding of how it took place and how we got to the point we are right now. So, it is indeed a journey marked by resilience and adaptation. So I'll begin, now this is totally from our perspective, so I'll begin when GWPC was approached by one of our partners, Ms. Joyce Thomas Peters, who reached out to us with a compelling request to help secure funding for a project that would enhance water security for the Mount Granby community. Recognizing the importance of this initiative, GWPC collaborated with Ms. Peters to develop a proposal which successfully secured funding from the Jeff Small Grants program. The initial achievement set the stage for what would be a long but rewarding journey. In April 2023, last year, we attended somewhat of a quasi-launch of the project at the community center right there, if you all could remember. to get the project underway, GWPC we committed our own funds, not project funds, but our own funds, to support the expansion of the dam, with community members stepping up to contribute labor. Actually, I still wonder how they got all the material up there. I don't know if they used a helicopter or something, but that's a long hike, 1 hour. Gravel, steel, all the material. So kudos to them. However, as is often the case, the path forward was far from easy. One of the first hurdles we faced was realizing that our initial project estimates were insufficient. Sourcing the material locally proved to be challenging because none of the hardwares had the material. And a more thorough assessment was needed. With the help of Mr. Alphonsus Daniel, we conducted a detailed reevaluation and procured the necessary materials from the US, ensuring that the materials met a good standard. Minister Karen James provided invaluable guidance and assistance to ensure that we got 100% concession, so we had to pay no custom duties for the imported materials. And that was a crucial support that basically erased the financial burden and allowed the project to continue without being derailed by the import costs. While materials were secured, another challenge arose in pretty much maintaining consistent community involvement. Despite initial commitments, turnout waned as the project progressed. Thankfully, we were able to rely on a core group of dedicated individuals. I'll call a few names: Ms. Stephanie Bascom, Mr. Michael Fleming, Mr. Cecil Simon, and there were others, but I didn't record their names. They all worked to help push the project forward. Their dedication kept the momentum alive when it was most needed. Throughout the journey, Ms. Simone Lewis, GWPC's regional coordinator, and I dedicated countless hours to make sure the project did not falter, even sacrificing personal time and vacation time. Our commitment was fueled by the belief that this project would make a significant difference in the community's access to reliable water. Then just when we thought the toughest days were behind us, Hurricane Beryl struck. The storm brought down multiple large trees that I can't even hug, making the trail to the dam nearly impassable, and breaking the newly installed HDPE pipe that was welded just prior to that. This setback was daunting, especially since we did not budget to deal with a situation like this. Yet, the community showed incredible resilience. Volunteers armed with chainsaws stepped up to clear as many trees as they could, reopening the path to a great extent. However, after the hurricane, progress ground to a screeching halt until we were fortunate enough to gain the services of Mr. Marvin Frank, the person who's currently doing the final touches on the project. His expertise and dedication propelled the project through its final stages efficiently and effectively, bringing it to completion with only a few peripheral details remaining. The Granby Community System Improvement Project has been a journey filled with valuable lessons about planning, adaptability, and the strength found in collaboration. Despite the numerous challenges, the project now stands as a testament to what can be achieved through dedication and strategic partnership. Now, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who contributed, from community members to key supporters. Your efforts have not only improved the infrastructure, but have provided an example. Let us carry these lessons forward as we continue to build a future of sustainable water in the community and, and in Grenada as a whole. So, moving along. Thank you. Moving along. We now have presentations, two back-to-back presentations by Ms. Paulette Mitchell and Mrs. Teresa Walcott-Pierre, two MPH students who you would notice were passing around, one doing surveys and one doing water sampling for conducting tests. So they also played a crucial role in this project. And I would now invite them to share some important and key findings from the work that they did. So a round of applause to Teresa and Paulette.
Good night, everyone. As was mentioned, my name is Paulette Mitchell, and I am extremely grateful for the opportunity to share my findings with you all tonight. I'm grateful for Global Water Partnership Caribbean for giving me the honor of interning with them. So with that due, I will do my introduction. So my aim in this entire project was to assess the risk of water contamination and the perception of water quality. Essentially, I was going around in the community, basically asking you if you think your water is safe to consume, if you think that there are contaminants present in your drinking water. So this would have been helpful to mitigating risk, as well as managing your expectations with the project. So we saw that there was exposure of risk to landslides, contamination risk, and to understand how these factors intersect with the land characteristics. Next slide, please. So an entire overview. I'm sure you're familiar, but Mount Granby community comprises of approximately 150 households located in the parish of St. John, and the water distribution system was established several decades ago. So essentially, old pipes in need of rejuvenation. So the community does not receive potable water from a municipal system because it has been operating its water independently, which I'm sure you're all familiar of. The water is not treated, and this is a risk because failure in the dam structure or contamination from upstream sources can lead to the spread of waterborne diseases. Next slide. So the dam is located approximately 0.9 kilometers north of the cul-de-sac of houses to the northern end of the community. And we can see this image here illustrating that. Next slide. So we would have assessed some public health risk associated with the water system infrastructure of the community. That would be principally contamination. So based on the assessment that I did, the surveys, 73% of the community survey participants consume unfiltered water, whose source is from the dam. And this leaves community members susceptible to contaminants that can get into the water from upstream. That's also compounded by the fact that most of you do not use filters, and therefore there is also risk to contamination of the pipes as well. Next slide. So 61% of the participants that I surveyed said that there was some scarcity experienced during the dry season, and some stating that there was water contamination issues, but that was easily taken care of by leaving the pipes open and allowing brown water to flow until it's clear. Most community members indicated that water is readily available when they need it, and a lack of pipes and infrastructure can cause no access to some community members. But when I was doing the survey, I noticed that neighbors would often share water with their neighbors, right? So if they were not connected to the water system, then they could go by their neighbor and they can run a pipe, and they would also get access to water. Next slide. So this is an image. It's just showing some elevation of the area, and the area in red would indicate where there is high, and the area in blue would indicate where the area is low, right? So using this software to sort of assess the landscape, we see that the shape of the catchment area makes it susceptible to flooding, right? Next slide. So vulnerable populations. While doing this survey, I noticed that there were a number of individuals who were over the age of 65. And research has shown that elderly, children, and pregnant women are considered vulnerable subgroups of populations that are sensitive to waterborne diseases. Next slide. So what are my recommendations based on these findings? The highest priority in this community is ensuring the access of clean drinking water. The reliance on untreated water poses significant risk to the development of waterborne diseases. Portable microfiltration systems can be distributed to individual households. Solar disinfection, which uses UV radiation from sunlight to purify water, is also another viable option for the community since it does not use chemical disinfectants. Yeah? Next slide. So the water distribution system was old and outdated and should be replaced with more pipes resistant to corrosion. So the dam should also be reinforced to be less susceptible to floods. Also, given that 73% of the community consumes unfiltered water and 75% do not boil the water that they consume, public health education on the risk associated with consuming untreated water should be a priority for this community. Next slide. So this is my very short presentation. Thank you for your attention and the opportunity to conduct this assessment. I will now hand over to my colleague, Teresa. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry, I'm young, but I find like it's blurry, so I have to go a little closer, all right? Please bear with me. All right, so my name is Teresa Walcott-Pierre, and I was a Master of Public Health student who got through to do my internship with Global Water Partnership Caribbean for this project here in the community. Go ahead, Paula. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to give you a background of the internship with the Masters of Public Health program. The internship is an important component of the program because SU wants to ensure that students get real-world public health experience before graduating. They are trying to produce skilled public health professionals whereby they're able to merge what they learn in the classroom with practical applications in the field. SU is hoping that the public health students are able to enhance skills, meet mentors, create networks, and conduct impactful community projects like this one. And there is a structure. You first get placement with the organization like GWPC. You get supervision from Ms. Simone and Mr. Keron. You conduct internship activities. You are able to report your findings and then do reflection. So I just wanted to give you a background of how we got here and why we were a part of this project, okay? Right, so what was the purpose and objective of the internship with GWPC? For me, it was to acquire first-hand experience in water quality testing. And the objective basically was to test for bacteria, to test for chemical components as well as physical components, mainly from the dam and about 30 buildings within the community. So if you see that yellow star there, that is actually the location of the dam, and then the arrows basically show the houses or the buildings I did the sampling from. So I just wanted to give you that background. So then what are the parameters that I was testing during this project? I was looking for bacteria, specifically fecal coliform. Fecal coliform is bacteria that is in the gut of animals and human beings. Now, if fecal coliform ends up in your water, then that means there is a possibility that you can have gastro. There's a possibility that you can have a lot of other pathogenic organisms that could create problems for you. So the hope is that the water does not have any of this bacteria that is really supposed to be in our sewage system. The WHO is saying that you're not supposed to have any of that bacteria in your water, not even one. If you get one in the lab, it means that it is cause for concern. What else did I test for? I test for pH, because you don't want your water to be too acidic or too alkaline, right? You want it to be a bit neutral. I tested for alkalinity, because at times the pH changes, but you want to make sure there is enough chemical things in the water to buffer against the pH changes. And I also checked for hardness, because you don't want the water to be too hard, neither too soft, right? What else did I test for? I test for nitrate and nitrites. Where do we get these things from? From fertilizers and from animal waste. I also tested for copper. You don't want too much copper in your water because it can actually come out from the plumbing systems, end up in your body, and create problems for your kidney and your liver. Similarly with iron, we don't want the levels to be too high, so I tested for that as well. When we're talking about the temperature of the water, nobody wants to be drinking hot water from the pipe. You want cool water, because cool water would encourage you to drink more water. That's what we want. When we talk about total dissolved solids, we don't want it to be too high. The water could end up being too bitter or too salty. And finally, we talk about turbidity, how clear the water is. We want to ensure that we're not drinking any murky water, but we are drinking crystal clear water. Is everybody with me? All right, let's go. So then what did I do? In terms of the sampling design, my sampling sites, well, I made the trek up to the dam 3 times. So I took water from the dam, and because I realized the community is basically in a Y shape, with the limited resources I had, I decided to take 10 from one side, 10 from the other side, and 10 from the final side. So I end up with 32 samples. And I remember somebody asking me, well, why are you taking water from me and my neighbor down the road? I said, Miss, the plumbing system in your pipe would not be the same as the person's plumbing system later down the road. I said the slope of where your house is would not be the same as the slope down the road. The land usage, your proximity to the to potential pollution sources. I said, and throughout the community, we don't have the same amount of people in each part of the community. So that's why I decided to spread out the sampling to get a better, a more comprehensive assessment of what your water quality is up here. So in total, I had 32 samples, right? So I know the persons who I dealt with, they saw me with my bucket, and in my bucket I had my cup, my bottle with alcohol, I had my thermometer to test the temperature, I had my machines to test all the dissolved substances and the turbidity, and everybody saw me with my strip. And I'm so happy that a few persons, they said yes, they will help me in using the strips to test the water. So that was very nice. So this is me. The first image is my first journey up the mountain to the dam. It took me probably 40 minutes to go up and 40 minutes to come back down, but I made it, right? You could see in the second picture, I'm not smiling because I say, whoa, boy, that's tough, but I made it, right? And the third picture, I think that is by one of the churches where I was collecting the water. And then I brought the bottles back to the lab at St. George's University. So in the first image, you can see the bottles, the water I collected. In the second image, that's the apparatus I used to basically filter the water so then I can do the lab test. And remember I said that when we're talking about bacteria, we don't want to see any bacteria from the lab, all right? So what did I find? From the 32 samples that I got from the community, all of them showed that we had bad bacteria, indicating that we have all of them show that we had bacteria, indicating we have bad bacteria in the water. Yeah, that's what I found. What is the problem? we could have a lot of cases of gastro in the community. What could be the possible reason for the bad bacteria in the water? Maybe your pipes were leaking. Maybe we have bad sewage systems in the community. Maybe we have runoff from the farmers in the area. Maybe we have wildlife like mongoose or whatever, dropping things in the water. And it could be because we don't have any treatment system up here. So we have a lot of maybes, right? Why are we concerned? If you get any bacteria in your water, the WHO is saying that it is deemed unfit for consumption. Nobody should be drinking water with bacteria in it. What are the suggestions? Maybe boil the water. I know the community is against chlorination, but we could also filter the water, okay? So this is just an example of what I found in the lab. Remember I said the WHO is saying that we shouldn't have anything in the lab. And if you see one, then you should flag it that this water is unsafe. And as you can see, for a lot of the plates here, it's more than one, more than two, more than three, more than four. Some of them you can't even count them. This is an indication of the bacteria that is currently in the water that you are drinking, okay? When we go on to the chemical findings now, almost all of the samples were acceptable for the chemical constituents. So in terms of your nitrate and your copper and your iron and so on, almost all of the samples were fit for consumption, right? And when we move on, go ahead. And when we move on to the physical things like the temperature and so, it's interesting that there were 2 times I tested the water after rainfall and the water was very, very dirty. And that's problems. If you're getting dirty water in your pipes, that means that there's a chance that you could be having a lot of gastro, a lot of issues in your gut that we don't want, okay? So what are my conclusions? Well, first of all, participating in this project in terms of water quality assessment was a key component of the project, and I'm happy to be here. It really shows the importance of having integrated water resources management. I found that there were positive fecal coliform in your water, and this indicates that your water may be bad for consumption. I found that the chemical results were good. At times I got high temperatures, and if we have high temperatures, you can damage your pipes. And finally, I found that we had turbidity at times, and that can pose problems for public health in terms of your gastro issues. So what are my key takeaways? I stand corrected, but I don't believe there is an established protocol in which water quality tests are routinely done for the community. I am assuming that there is a water management team. I was told that. So I think the water management team should be structured to ensure that we are doing regular testing, regular treatment, distribution, and monitoring. And of course, the community needs to be aware and the community needs to be educated about the status of the water and what more can be done to improve the quality, okay? And in terms of the recommendations, these are my recommendations. Identify portable sources of contamination in your community. Install water treatment technologies. So maybe you can go back to Jeff to get another grant so you can now install a slow sand filtration system which will take away the problem you have with the bacteria. Understood? What about the water management team that you have in place? They should be releasing advisories telling you about water quality and about public health. They should organize workshops maybe with the Ministry of Health, right? And emphasizing the importance of safe drinking water and proper hand washing techniques. In the community, we can probably train a few people to be our water quality officers and then get more funding to equip these water quality officers with little kids. The same kids that I had walking around the community, these officers can get them to do regular tests for the community and give updates. And finally, maybe we can create a community policy whereby 2 to 3 times for the month, the water quality officers take the water and then bring them to Nawasa or wherever else they're doing the testing to ensure that you're getting proper water to drink, right? So finally, I want to say thank you to GWPC for having me as an intern. I want to say thank you to you for inviting me to your homes and for working with me, and also SGU for allowing me to do the water quality testing at their labs. And this is me, my final journey up the mountain. I said, yes, I did it. I made it. So thank you for your time and attention.
Can we get another round of applause? Great presentations. So now, I would like to invite the Honorable Corinne James, Member of Parliament for St. John and Minister for Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy, to share her remarks. And right after she shares her remarks, we're going to do the ceremonial opening of the line, because we know this post office never gets water in the past. We've heard that a lot. So we're going to open, the ceremonial opening is going to take place, and there's a standpipe right out there, and we're going to see the water come through that to prove that there is water in the new line. So, so I now invite the Honorable Karen James.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me? All right. Let me start off by recognizing the members of the head table. I would start from my immediate right, Teacher Stephanie, who is also a member of the Mount Granby Water Committee, as well as one of the strong backbones that was a part of ensuring the success of this project. And she's my cousin too. Let me also say a special good evening and welcome, Mr. Delso. I hope I pronounced his name correct. Jeff representative in this project, for giving us the money. And I also want to especially recognize Miss Simone Lewis for her passion, her adopting this parish and this community, and for her support throughout this process. And everybody has their version of how this project came to life. And I want to use this opportunity today to share my version of how this project came to life. So in 2022, I decided to forgo my studies to pursue my master's degree in the UK. I was one of the Chevening scholars who got approved and accepted to go and study. And I opted instead to run for a political brand and to contest the elections. While doing so, I recognize that quite a number of residents and constituents over the years have talked about how persons would come on the campaign trail presenting themselves as candidates for particular political organizations or as an independent. And they would make promises to their constituents, oftentimes trying to satisfy either egos or appetites, or just simply saying things out of their mouths just to win the seat. Now, having had experiences before with the campaign, I decided that I was going to be different. I was going to take a different route. And so before I began my campaigning on the ground, I did some background studies as to what are the real issues. And I did not generalize the constituency as what often happens. Instead, I broke up the constituency community by community and went on the ground, spoke with the people. Most of them you would realize and understand in the heat of a campaign, if you're for one side or you're for a different side, the accommodation and the welcome might be a little bit different. But I decided that I was going to go hard for communities that were very special and communities that were very near and dear to my heart. And so most persons know me as a young lady that was born in Guelph, right in the Earl Center, grew up all my life opposite the Catholic Church. But a lot of people don't know that my roots is from this part of the constituency as well. And I spent quite a number of years up here. I grew up here, right opposite this compound. And when I was doing my studies and my investigation as to what are the real issues and what transformational project, because we campaign on a transformational agenda, what are the real transformational projects that can really and truly be seen, that can really and truly transform the lives of residents, and that can leave a lasting impact even beyond this electoral cycle and beyond our generations. And so three things was clear for this community, or this polling division, as you would like to call it. The first being the water, the dam, and the water network, which is the pipes. The second being the community center and playing field and the basketball court. And of course, routine assistance and support for roads. Now, I campaigned on that, and I made an oath to the residents right here. I don't remember the date when we had this meeting, this political meeting, but it was right on these grounds. And I promised that at least by the first year in me being in office, because I was certain and sure that I was going to be elected, I promised that I was going to fulfill these three things in its initial phase for this part of the constituency. And so fast forward to the elections being over and ministerial portfolios being granted, it was as if God gave me the best and biggest blessing. I was given the ministry, and I was given what you would call a giant, upsetter, firm, committed, supportive, technical support, or what we call transition leads. That was somebody who was paired with me to assist me with the first 3 months in office as a new minister with the portfolio to help me transition. And that person was Mr. Joyce Peters Thomas. She carried my hand, we sat and we spoke, and she told me, what are some of the things that you would like to accomplish? And I was clear. 3 things I wanted to accomplish: Palmis Dig, the fisher locker facility for my young fishermen in Concord, and this Granby water project. Because you would recognize and understand that while I have a ministerial portfolio that have access to quite a lot of funding out there, it must fit within the scope of what the portfolio requires. It can be something outside. So you might get road, but you have to be connected with the environmental aspect to it. And so she promised me that we were going to work along with that. So we kept that on the side, and I was given a baptism of fire with the portfolio in terms of having to go at the regional and international stages to represent the country. Now, through a mutual friend, and I'm going all the way back there. I have a tendency to be long, but sorry, I had to go all the way back there because it's always good to pay homage and respect to people who helped you along the way. Through a mutual friend, who is also a constituent, and maybe I'll call his name and he would call me and say, what I'll call his name for? But I have to call his name Mr. Marlon Glean. He knew of my plans, and he said he has a friend that he would like to introduce me to, and he thinks that she can help me with what we want to roll out. And so it was through Mr. Glean. I don't know if Simone remember, but I met Simone at his then restaurant, and we spoke, and she gave me her commitment that we're going to get this going and we're going to get this moving. And if it's one thing that you know about me, sometimes I might be late because time management is really not my thing, because I try not to turn away anybody. I try to satisfy everybody. Even if I'm on my way going and somebody stop me, I would stop and talk to them before I come. But one thing you would know about me is that if I give you my word, I will ensure I fulfill and action my word. And so Simone gave me her word. And today we are here because of all of this friendship that was forged. And so I want to thank Simone. I want to thank Mr. Glean. I want to thank my transitional leader. Mrs. Peters, for holding my hand and for guiding me through this project, and almost as if they adopted this community and this constituency as their own to ensuring that we can roll out this. Now, I had a presentation as well, but I can't find it now. But I too made my first hike up the dam for the very first time, and I nearly died. And when I heard Mrs. Spears said she made it in 40 minutes, well, my girl, I made it in 2 hours and a half. With my uncle almost raising me, and my father saying I'm too lazy. But when you get up there and you see it, and when you see a project so touching in that we are one or maybe the only community in Grenada that has our own water system, something that we can be proud of, and we can, when you talk about having an identity, having a national pride, you know, you can speak of these things, these natural resources that we have and that we harness for a very long time. And so when I came up to Granby and stay, this was the only water. And to date, maybe I'll try to drink bottled water, but Granby water was the only water that didn't give me a washout. I'm telling you. So you have something very precious up here. And I would not be doing justice to my representation to you if I did not take this project and ensure that it is rolled out successfully. And so I am happy that we were able to use the Global Water Partnership Caribbean as well as the Jeff funding for their support. And Mr. Delsa made mention of something in his remarks, and he said that it is important for financial institutions like these to roll out, and I'm not saying verbatim, but I am paraphrasing, to reach the communities. And that is something that I felt, and I still feel up to this day, we have not been able to successfully do in relation to the environment and what it is we do within the climate space. Everything seems to be so intellectual. Everything seems to be so far-fetched, and persons might see me traveling a lot to these meetings. It takes a lot to go. Most times I don't want to go. It don't matter how pretty, how beautiful the countries are. But sometimes you have to speak and speak and speak and negotiate and negotiate and negotiate. You persons, countries, the big dogs, the big boys, countries, the big emitters countries would make commitments. And when we go back in our necessary areas and so we ain't get nothing, it's you, the constituents, that's saying they only traveling, she only traveling, and she ain't bringing back nothing. And so sometimes as well too, when we do get access to these international funding facilities, oftentimes communities like ours, the rural communities, are left out in the process. And so if it's one thing that I want you to leave here with, is Mr. Delsa's words that we do have an onus, the Jeff funding, the GCF, all the others, do have a responsibility to ensure that these funding trickle down and has a direct and positive impact on the lives of ordinary citizens in each part and each community of the island. And so we will be coming again. That is God working. God saying, time up, Karen. You're talking too much. We will be coming again with quite a number of initiatives. And so in my closing words, I would want to use it to encourage you residents that are here. The parliamentary representative, although she was the lone candidate that campaigned for her seat, her seat in an election, one person cannot be responsible for the transformation of an entire constituency that is over 5,000 plus. Let me reiterate that. The parliamentary alone cannot be responsible for the transformation of a constituency of over 5,000 plus people. This means that if you are nationalistic, if you are true and if you are proud to be a Grenadian, if you are proud of your community, if you want to see your community succeed, if you want to see your environment thrive, if you want to leave something for your generation, your children and your grandchildren to come, you have to hold me accountable and hold me through the process to walk together. And so I would implore on the community members, put aside everything else that is unnecessary outside of the election cycle. Put aside money. Money come, money go. Sometimes we have it today, we have it tomorrow, we ain't have it. That is life. Not everything that happens in a constituency should be down to what is it in it out for me. What are getting out of that? Life is bigger than money. Sometimes you might have the most amount of money in life. You're sick, you can't buy nothing, you can't even spend it. So I want us to go back to the days of when we had that nationalism, when we were more conscious as Grenadians and we are patriotic to come together and to be mindful and to remember the power of voluntarism and community spirit and community building and community development. Your parliamentary representative cannot do it by herself. And so I need everybody to come on board. This is one of the promises that I was able to fulfill for you within I said the first year, but it take 2 years, but it still get done. The next one we have is our community center. Work has commenced on the inside. We are looking to roll out doing a ramp on the outside because it is also an emergency shelter. So we're going to make it accessible for all differently abled and specially abled persons in the constituency should there be any need to use the community center as an emergency shelter. We also want to bring back that community and sporting spirit of the constituency. So work would soon commence on the playing field behind us, as well as the basketball court. And the Chinese government was able and willing to give us some funding towards the renovation of the community center. But the parliamentary representative, ladies and gentlemen, cannot do it by themselves. And you see how we was able to mobilize quite a lot of people here today? I'm sure this is Mr. Delsa first time. I don't mind in your business. Okay, you're quite a while, right? Prior to this project, Miss Lewis, this was your first time. She didn't even know there was a place called so. And so I think Carrie, what's the name? Caron, this is your first time up in Mount Granby, I am sure. Mrs. Spear as well, and to the ladies, thank you for showing out as young women. It's so refreshing to see young people, especially young women, being so versed and knowledgeable and having your qualification. It looks good, it feels nice. Give them a round of applause. Yeah. And I'm sure that this was your first time coming up to this community. So, ladies and gentlemen, I say all of that to say, if you have persons who have never heard of a place called Mount Granby before, coming up here with no monies attached, just trying to, expand their expertise, and they're trying to build themselves as young professionals. They come out from far to be here. What is stopping us? As people who probably born here, never even leave here to make their children in the health center, neither in the hospital, make your children in your house here. What is stopping us from coming together to even doing bigger things for Mount Granby and the rest of this polling division? So they're present here, ladies and gentlemen. Let this be a reminder. Let this be a motivational factor that anything else that is to come, whether I initiate it or somebody else initiate it, that we all going to put our hands on deck to ensure it is successfully implemented. And once I have that promise from you guys, you will see much more coming from the community. So we have a deal? Ladies and gentlemen, we have a deal that whatever it is as a community force, we are going to put all hands on deck and forget about the ego, forget about every other thing that's going to hinder productivity. Leave it outside and let's come together as Mount Granby strong, Douglas stand strong, way again strong, Mount Nesbitt, because Mount Granby and Mount Nesbitt different. Up top hell and heaven. all of us gonna come together as one and develop our community. So I want to say thank you so very much to the Global Water Partnership, Simone. Thank you so very much to my transitional lead, Mrs. Peters. Thank you so very much to teacher Stephanie and to the Granby Water Committee for supporting this initiative and staying the course. And thank you to the residents of Granby for enhancing this project by your involvement and you giving your recommendations during the stakeholder consultations that we've held. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your patience, and I appreciate it very much. And there's much more beautiful things to come to enhance our community. So thank you so much.
Wow. The thunder agreed. Very powerful call to action. So I'd like to thank the Honorable Minister for that. And we now move on to the ceremonial opening of the valve, which is right over there by those chairs. I invite the members of the head table to, it's kind of dark there though. Can we have the backlights on? So hopefully we get some lights.
Okay. What the life? What the life? Hurry up before we die. All right, so we could be doing a countdown. We're doing a countdown. We're going to do it from 3, 2, 1 because we ain't sticking, right? So 2, 3. 3. It turn on? All right. So we're going by the standpipe now. Huh? Oh, pass it? Okay. All right. So let me go again. 3, 1. Let me take the first drink. So we know the water safe to drink and the MP could drink the water. Over to Karen.
Someone a group picture. Maybe we could get a bucket to put the water.
I know. We could.
Anybody around staying close?
Yeah, we could get a bucket. Yeah. So we want to take a little picture. So we're asking the members of the head table and some community members as well, if you want, just take a group photo. Should we put the pipe? And we saving water, eh? Yeah, but just for the photo op.
you very much. We almost finished. We just have one or two items again. So at this point in time, I'd like to open the floor to any community member, maybe about 5 minutes to give any testimony that they might have about the project. So, community members. We are a bit too shy. Okay, I don't see anybody coming up. So I guess I'll just have. I see it. Okay, we had one person agree to speak, but I'm not seeing her. Okay. So I think I should move on to the next item now. The vote of thanks. So I'd like to again call up Ms. Stephanie Bascom to give our vote of thanks as we close this proceeding.
I'm not as tall as you. All right, once again, let me say a special good night to everyone. This time I have to put on my spectacles. Can't see without it. Right, so I'm here at this moment to give the vote of thanks. So I want to say a good night to our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor to express our heartfelt gratitude to all those who contributed to the success of the Mount Granby Community Water System Improvement Project. This project would not have been possible without the dedication and collective efforts of many individuals and organizations. I would like to take a moment to thank them in honor of their significant contributions. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Marvin Frank for his diligent work in completing the installation of the distribution lines, with crucial to the project's success. I think the thunder is kind of playing on me here. Thank you for your expertise and commitment. For Mr. Cecil Simon, we are truly grateful for the use of your equipment, your generous contribution of labor, and your willingness to provide storage for materials throughout the project. Mr. Michael Fleming, your role as focal point, along with your dedicated labor and material storage, was essential in driving this project forward. Thank you for your leadership and hard work. Community members, a special thank you to those who had helped in so many different ways, especially in clearing that path after the Hurricane Beryl damaged the trees and so forth up to the dam, which our minister took 2.5 hours before the hurricane, so most likely 4 hours after the hurricane. There are a few names, but I will not call because of time. To our Honorable Minister, thank you for your support in securing the 100% concession for the materials imported into Grenada for this project, and to your support throughout the project. Your assistance was vital in making this initiative a reality. To Ms. Simone Louis and Mr. Karen Martinez from GWPC. We are thankful for your coordination efforts and the provision of additional fundings which supported key aspects of the project, including the expansion of the dam capacity. At one point in time, I thought they were residents of Mount Granby. I used to see them very often, which was a good thing. To Ms. Joyce Thomas Peters, thank you for your voluntary contribution and for dedicating your time to train community members, strengthening the knowledge base within the community. For Mistress, the name is kind of hard, Miss Teresa Walcott Pierre. We appreciate your commitment to water sampling and testing, ensuring the safety and quality of our water. And she has given us a lot of information based on her findings. And we have to thank God. Surprisingly, we do not have much waterborne disease in this area. So we give God thanks and praise. For Miss Sandra Ferguson, we are deeply grateful for your volunteer work in providing training on mobilizing, organizing, and the operation of a committee which helped build a robust framework for community involvement. Ms. Paulette, I didn't forget you. To Ms. Paulette Mitchell, thank you for your important work with surveys, which was fundamental to the planning and execution phases of the project. For Ms. Grace James, we extend our gratitude for allowing us to store materials at your home, which provided a critical resource for the continuity of the work. For Mr. Alphonse Daniel, we acknowledge your assistance with the assessment of the project site, procurement of materials, and your contributions during the initial phases of the project. And lastly, I would like to thank everyone present here this night, for your support and encouragement. Your presence is a testimony to the importance of this project for our community. So once again, I want to thank everybody for their contribution and for being here. Thank you so much.
And I would like to add thank you to, she didn't thank herself, so I'll do it. Stephanie Bascom, she has been, in addition to Michael Fleming, one of the key persons who were available for us when we came up here, and we needed someone to coordinate with. She was there. She was always available on the phone. She was always volunteering her time. And I would like to add thanks to the Jeff Small Grants for providing the funding. So thank you all for attending this significant ceremony. We appreciate your support and dedication. So we now invite you all to have some refreshments available at that table right over there. So there's juice and some snack boxes. And I believe there's also some additional refreshments there. I'm seeing a big container there. It contains some ice and some glass bottles. So, thank you everyone. So do enjoy your night, the rest of your night.